online shopping or e-commerce has created a mini revolution in India, especially in small towns and tier 2 cities. Hello and welcome to India Post Live. We are India's first interactive web TV news conversation site, and we welcome your thoughts and comments to join in to the conversation. Today we are talking about online shopping, especially in India's smaller towns and cities. What are the consumer trends? What are people actually buying? Are big brands reaching the doorsteps of those living in a Lucknow, a Patna, or even a Cochin, Alleppey area? To take the conversation forward, we have two experts in our studio with us, Mr. Devanshu Datta, who is the Chief Executive of Third Eyesight, and also Mr. Harminder Sahni, who is the founder and MD of Wazir Advisors. Both of these are management consultancies, especially their actually expertise lies in market research and consumer products. Right. Thank you so much for joining us to the conversation at India Post Live. We will also have another guest joining us on Skype. I want to come to you first. What are the kind of consumer habits has e-commerce really reached smaller towns, so to say?
I think what we've seen in the last perhaps 3-4 years particularly, e-commerce, not just internet penetration but actually e-commerce and transactions are happening all across the country. It's happening in both small towns where it might be actually difficult for a brand to create critical mass. You might not be able to reach enough consumers there to justify opening a store. And also those cities where it's offering a platform where multiple brands are actually available, let's say through an online platform. Where you have a diversity for the consumer in terms of the product, the brands available, the pricing available. Right. And I think the Indian consumers, by and large, are fairly savvy. While initially there might have been barriers in terms of slow connectivity, there might have been barriers in terms of concerns about security of payments. Over time, consumers, even in smaller cities, have become more and more comfortable. And companies, of course, on their own have done enough to promote e-commerce, to make sure that the infrastructure becomes better at delivering the product, to make sure that payments happen more smoothly. Yeah. Perhaps there's cash on delivery available, which wasn't available earlier. So all of these elements put together have created an environment which is far more friendly to e-commerce than perhaps even a short time ago, maybe 3-4 years ago.
Right. Mr. Sahni, in terms of what your company does in consumer products and research, have you seen a particular kind of product really, taking off or becoming a bestseller? And if you could shed light on what types of products really become a big hit or have a bigger demand than maybe some others?
See, very clearly, the books where it all started, that people wanted to buy books, and the reason even in the big city was that in any best of the stores, they will not have such a long tail. They will have only very few books available in the store. And you go there, you're disappointed. And so that's something which everybody got hooked on to online shopping because of that. And Flipkart started from there. But eventually, if you look at it, ultimately people buy only that many books. Right. We don't buy so much in India. The market is still not very, very large and will not become that large. But the clothing and footwear are the next two categories where people have definitely shown larger masses, if one have to say. A lot of younger people are quite hooked on to electronics, gadgets and mobile phones. That's what they buy. Again, how many you buy and how often you buy. Numbers still in volume may look very large, but still the number of transactions are limited. In clothing and footwear, people buy it very often. And people are willing to take the risk, because if you're buying a t-shirt for $4.99 or $7.99, you're pretty comfortable this not being the best what you had thought, or it doesn't turn out to be the purple you could see on the screen. Right. You'll live with it. You won't be like cribbing about it. So that's how people had gotten into it. So these two categories, footwear and apparel, because in apparel one, the range is unlimited, infinite, and at any point of time, if you're a fashionable person, you're always looking for something more, and e-commerce sites allow you to do that. In case of footwear, where it's very branded, range may not be that large, but most of the brands do not have the availability across India. So even in a city like Gurgaon, if you go to a store, Nike store in Ambience Mall, which should have potentially, or possibly, you would expect that they should have everything, but it's not possible for them to have everything. They had everything in the morning at 11, but by the time post-lunch you went for shopping, that particular size and particular color has disappeared. Right. Somebody bought it, now it will come next week. But online, that's what's not there. So even sitting 2 kilometers away from Ambience Mall, Nike store, I'll shop online. It makes sense for me. And somebody sitting 2,000 miles away who doesn't have a Nike store to 100 miles radius still will be happy to shop online. So these two categories is definitely, and footwear again is a very standardized product. So people people have realized that you know your size, so you know this footwear, so it's good to buy online. You don't have to put it on, try it out. So these two categories are doing extremely well.
Okay. So
Last point, if I have to say, I'm interrupting, and last point is that to do with the these two categories, but these are the two categories which have been brought online by some of these leading online retailers.
Okay.
A lot of other stuff has still not come online, so I would not say that these will remain the two leading categories, but they are today. Tomorrow it could be something else.
So it could be footwear, clothing, the comfort of being in your home and being able to actually window browse from your internet connection and your computer. Has that what has added value and made online shopping a big hit? Take a look. Online shopping is no longer exclusive to urban Indians. Buying the latest books, designer saris, smart gadgets, or chic crockery and furniture is something that people living in the metros would often buy. But this and other big brands and luxury items have now easily found their way into the homes of people in small towns. All this thanks to the internet. People living in smaller towns and cities of India are able to order goods of their choice and live their dreams. For many of the online stores and e-commerce, about 20 to 45% of the current sales come from people living in smaller towns. And according to projections, India's online shopping community will grow to about 4 million by 2016. An American think tank has even projected that the online retail in India could be an $84 billion industry. Experts say that the main shoppers behind this boom will be from India's smaller towns. Right. So you see that, everything, research data also supports what both of you have shared with us, that there is data to, to try and encourage the kind of shopping trends that online retail is seeing. But Mr. Sahni, I wanted to just, if you could elaborate on what you were saying in terms of the convenience of, being at home, just ordering online. Does it also have some sort of hurdles, like Mr. Datta was explaining, online payment? It has actually grown, the online retail space has matured in a way from what it was in a nascent stage. E-commerce hadn't really taken off in a big way in India, or it has seen sort of, a curve of growth. Could you just take us through that journey that online shopping has seen in India?
Sure. See, one of the things which obviously for shopping, one of the most, I would say, necessary but not sufficient condition is that there should be something to shop. Right? So if you, when Devanshu was earlier saying that 3-4 years these changes have happened, and even I would have said 3-4 years, but since he was saying I noticed it, there was nothing 3 years ago. There was nothing 4 years ago on online. We say 3-4 years because if we say 12 to 18 months, it looks too short. So much has happened in a short time that we unintentionally are saying 3 to 4 years. Right? Everything has happened in the last 24 months max.
What caused this to happen?
Because, like I said, there has to be something to shop for shoppers to shop or not shop.
Right.
So Flipkart was selling only books till 30 months ago. So you could only buy it.
Now they're even selling baby products.
Absolutely. Babies maybe tomorrow. So everything which is becoming available to shop. So consumers are responding to that. So my belief is that online retail growth today, if 2014, if I have to say, it's only restricted because of the lack of activity from the retailer side, not from the consumer side.
But no internet connectivity
all
being
those
a restriction.
challenges, all those challenges. You have also used smartphones. We have all used laptops. Till the time you use a faster laptop or a better smartphone, the one which you have is the best.
Okay.
So today, sitting here, it may look like to me that somebody sitting in a small town has a slower connection. For him or her, that's the fastest connection available. And they are shopping. If they're shopping once, they can shop thrice. So it's not like they have no compulsion to shop online. So if there are millions of these people are shopping with a slower connection, that means they can shop more and many more. Nobody is saying, oh, it's slower connection, that's why I'm not shopping online. Right? That's not the fact. So there were challenges to do with the payments. So cash on delivery took care of that. Now with the secure credit card payments, net banking. So all those things are gone. So today it's less to do with consumer, it's more to do with the e-commerce online retailers, that what all they are bringing online, whatever they bring online
is bought.
Is bought.
Great. On that note, I'd like to bring in Mr. Amrinta Singh, who is the Vice President, Amarpreet Singh, I apologize, who is the Vice President of Yebi.com. He joins us from Bangalore, I believe. From Gurgaon, sorry. Okay, sir. Thank you so much for joining in the conversation at India Post Live. Could you share with us your thoughts on how Yebi has performed so far? Maybe your last 6 months of performance in terms of a little bit of sales and data, and what have been the top 3 products that have been, big sellers or have sold out, in fact?
See, we're basically a 3.5-year company only. We started with a single category, that was footwear. So we started being BigShoeBazaar.com, and in about a year's time, we realized that we need to go horizontal instead of vertical. And we were the first one actually to start with apparel, shoes, and all the clothing accessories and everything. And as someone just mentioned, that this story is just a 3-year-old story, and the inflection point is still
To come.
in the future.
Right.
And whatever is available is selling online. But yes, it's just the major brands that have joined the bandwagon as far as online is concerned. In fact, there are brands like international brands who still not gone online. So one aspect are the major brands, and the other aspect are the local brands who still have not come online. And as such, as and when they'll come, you'll see a different scale altogether.
But is there a particular niche that Yebi is looking at, a target audience that you are focusing at, that makes you stand out from the other players in the market? Because there are so many who have mushroomed. Everybody seems to have an audience. What is Yebi looking at in terms of age group or consumer habits?
See, we are focusing on fashion-forward and affordable clothing and shoes. So we are concentrating only on these categories. We did have other categories like books and mobiles and all, but now we're not focusing anything on that. So we are focusing only on the soft line categories.
Great. And any kind of special requests or bulk orders, we want a conversation a little bit in terms of what kind of data you have for smaller towns purchasing habits. Have they really taken on to online shopping?
I think they have, but as someone mentioned, internet connection speed is still an issue. Besides that, there are 22,000 pin codes in this country, and between the courier companies, only 50 service. There's a lot of us are only by speed activity, but there's also a logistics channel, and which needs to get filled in. So besides that, I think what really works well online till now, what we've seen is great value, discounts, coupons. I think that really adds fuel to the consumer buying behavior.
But have you been able to tap into tier 2 cities? If you could name a few places where you do get frequent, customers online requesting for specific items, during seasons, bulk orders. If you could name a few cities for us and throw some light on that.
See, we get orders from Siliguri, we get orders from Guwahati, we get orders from Port Blair, we get orders from Nanded. So these are basically tier 2, tier 3 cities, and they are in these cities that I named are within our top 15 cities. Guwahati is number 4.
Interesting, great. So they have, Northeast seems to be a very, very good market or thriving market, so to say, for online shoppers. What have you experienced in terms of the Northeast? If you could share with us some sort of research that in terms of what kind of buying lifestyle trends are there in the Northeast.
So if I were to look at just the fashion category, clothing and footwear across the country, and while I think it's unfair to generalize, I think there is an element of higher fashionability amongst consumers in the Northeast, particularly among the young. The appreciation for fashion, the appreciation of what the trends are, the currency of trends, I think that's much higher. Certainly, the fact that the availability of brands is lower, logistical challenges, the critical mass issue that I talked about earlier, that means that there are fewer stores available.
Right.
So there is a hole, a big fashion-sized hole which e-commerce can fill and is filling.
Yes.
And it's for an e-commerce operator, you're essentially opening one web store and you're operating from that. So you've got common inventory. You're not really having to open 20 or 50 stores across the region
Right.
to target the same consumer. Let's not forget that one of the biggest advantages e-commerce has over a physical store is the fact that inventory is all centralized. Whereas if you open 20 stores, your inventory is fragmented. And as Harvinder said earlier, the moment you walk into a store later in the day, you've missed out on some of the products which have got sold earlier, and that means they're no longer in inventory, they're no longer available for you to buy. And that's not the case with e-commerce. So I think those two factors put together, the availability and the fashionability, make the fashion element in e-commerce stronger as far as Northeast is concerned. Places like Guwahati, Siliguri, etc. are, I think, very, very open to this new form of commerce.
Right. I just want to bring in Mr. Amarpreet. Like you shared with us this interesting factoid about these cities. What, if you can just, in your last comments before you go, I know you have a couple of meetings lined up, just your last thoughts on what are the big purchases that people maybe from Nanded, would want to buy? Are they living their dream of, being able to just pick out a luxury brand, a mobile phone, or, anything in terms of dinnerware? What is it particularly that, that has struck you or, has stayed with you in terms of the item on purchase that probably somebody from Siliguri really wanted, and online shopping was their only way, to get that?
As far as the Northeast is concerned, again, fast fashion power, they're very conscious. They'll buy 6 inches, 7 inches pumps, stilettos. So that all sells very well there.
Right.
And as far as Nanded and the other tier 2, tier 3 cities that are concerned, I think brands like Calvin Klein and all, which don't have presence in their towns and cities, those brands have a very high traction in tier 2 and tier 3.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing this information and, joining in at the conversation on India Post Live. Do take forward your comments and thoughts on our website as well. And thank you for your time on joining us from yebi.com, Mr. Amarpreet.
All right. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. So, that's where I wanted to discuss, like you've been both saying, it is something that it's some sort of a brand value, a status value, that these physical stores aren't present there and they're able to, actually utilize the opportunity of just going online, the click of a button,
Right.
able to just make that purchase. But any kind of specific hurdles in terms of payment gateways or slow internet connectivity beyond this, if we are able to fix it, is there any hurdle that could possibly hold back the sales of online shopping or e-commerce as such?
See, one of the reasons and again, not to, let's say, undermine the fact that slower connection or the payment issue people have in mind, even in cities, larger cities, and most of the time we are moving around Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, and I've spoken to people who are, let's say, 40 plus. They have, while everybody looking at percentage says 40 plus people, they should be written off. There are so few of them, but we are as big as few European countries, and
Right.
we have money to buy things. So many people who have everything on their phone, but they have never shopped. Right? So
Right.
while we are
They've
talking
never
tier 2,
used
tier 3
technology.
cities,
Right.
so I'm saying this age profile cuts across cities. Right? While these are the people, so while a young person, 18-year-old, my son, he will have it on his mobile and he's willing to buy, but does he have the money to buy? He always has to come back to me for my credit card and always has to seek permission. I can shop anything, nobody
Or
can
he
stop
can't buy
it.
something which costs a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
Or
an
anything. He
expensive
doesn't
item.
have the credit card. He has the connection. Father has the credit card, and he has to discuss, and then only he'll get over it. Say, small town, slower connection. I have the credit card too, but age profile wise, I would say the 40 plus population is one which is
Still
missing
needs to be
out, missing
tapped.
out completely on there to be tapped. Again, the two things are happening. One, that we are not going online and shopping. Secondly, what would I like to buy? Fine, I can buy a t-shirt, I can buy a jeans or a sports footwear, but I want to buy formal shirts.
Right.
So can I look at all the Arrow shirts, look at all the Gant or Boji shirts online and buy? No, I can't, because many of these brands have not come online. Even if they have come in, they try to sell their casual, because all the online retailers, they're trying to go after younger people. So that's one big segment which is getting missed out. It's from both sides.
Right.
In this case, it's from both sides. Consumers are, and again, if you look at the advertisements, all discount, cheaper, activity,
Right.
action, dance, drama, doesn't cut an ice with slightly older people, and I think that's a big opportunity which is getting missed out.
I specifically wanted to compare e-commerce in India, versus what in UK. I have very actively, shopped in UK. I would stay up till very late in the night and not miss out on any possible sale of the
Right.
big brands there.
Right.
Because it is so smooth, easy, and delivery is prompt. Not only that, the return policy is so easy, and it's very convenient for
Right.
an average internet user or somebody
Right.
who really is actively shopping online to make that process very, very convenient and
Yeah.
simple. There is no hassle, there is no arguments and there it's a very structured procedure that the returns policy stated online. So do you feel for many websites who are probably newer in the market or are still getting their systems in place, this would turn out to be a little bit of a hurdle with?
See, these are hygiene factors, if you ask me. Today, whether Flipkart or Myntra, Jabong, AB, all of these people, these are hygiene factors. They've taken care of that. So if, let's say, I would say less mature, unsophisticated, or let's say typical kind of a company which comes in and believes you are going online is just putting up your website and behave the same way as you behaved in offline world, it's not going to work. Nobody will go to their site.
Right.
So good thing about being online retailer is that anybody can walk into your store. The bad thing about it, nobody will ever walk into your store, because not like a mall that you will be seen.
Right.
Somebody has to look for you, only then you will be seen. Billions can, but nobody would. So in that scenario, these are hygiene factors that what you are saying, it has to be absolutely smooth. No hassles, no arguments, exchange policies, payment policies, credits being given, everything, size doesn't fit in, product is defective, no question being asked that it became
Yes.
defective after you opened it. It just goes. So all of these websites who are doing well, they are doing all these things. I would say as good as done internationally. Yes, they are doing more than what is done internationally. Try to buy something free, shipping free from Amazon or an ASOS, and you will realize that how the numbers work. And here we have few hundred rupees and you get free delivery, right? No convenience charge being taken, no special charges being
And
put
right
on.
at your doorstep.
Right at your doorstep. So I think all that is being taken care of. That's why it has come so far in such a short while.
Right.
To go beyond this, any new players are coming in. Standards have been already set very, very high.
Okay.
But on the merchandise side, if you have to, so now an ASOS definitely, you can't compare a Flipkart or a Myntra and their merchandise. Well, here the merchandise is still very, very basic. So come back to the same point. What's available is being bought. You bring in stuff which like a big catalog like Amazon, I'm sure people will buy. You bring in excellent fashion selection like an ASOS and the deals which they bring in, people will buy.
Great. On that note, we'll try and ask, we've tried and asked a lot of potential buyers or shoppers if they prefer online versus actually going to the store and shopping. Here's what they had to say.
Do you shop online?
Yes.
What do you shop online?
Footwear, clothing, books.
In online, cash on delivery is much more suitable to us.
What all do you shop from there?
Like PS3 games,
Anything related
perfumes,
to kitchenware.
anything relating to kitchen, perfumes, like that.
What do you prefer, online or retail?
Retail.
Retail.
Because
It gives the appearance.
apparels cannot be bought on internet.
Internet.
If I have to shop, I prefer touch and feel. I want to feel the product and try it. That's why online no.
Why do you shop online?
It saves time.
What do you prefer, online or retail?
Retail, of course.
With the online shopping, it depends entirely on the product. Some products it is better to be able to see in person. Other products it is easier to buy online and have it shipped and much more convenient.
It was interesting. There was, at the National Conference on E-commerce in 2012, the data may be slightly, outdated, but it said that 60% of the revenue for Jabong.com, for instance, came from smaller towns. So we again go back to this, focus point of how is it that smaller towns are able to completely, cash in on this trend of taking up online shopping, able to order whatever they have possibly imagined, because there isn't as much of physical connectivity or reach to these brands. If you could just share with us a little bit about the not just fashion, fashion sense or wanting that kind of a brand at their doorstep or for their personal use, but other kind of leverage or other kind of factors that would lead shoppers, especially in smaller towns, to actually use the internet and purchase. Don't they have these kind of hesitations or kind of doubts that the money, even with cash on delivery, still not will, because you can't open the package, whereas abroad you possibly could even open the package and if you keep the tag on, you can return it.
Sure.
So do you feel that smaller towns are not aware that they can even get a replacement or return these items? That is why there's a bigger demand on their part. Is there?
So let me put that in take two contexts separately. One is the consumer's context and second is the company's. From the consumer's point of view, I mean, my personal experience of shopping on e-commerce goes back to when Amazon first launched in the UK, and it was seamless, smooth. You had a selection of books, you did your payment. If you had a problem, as I did in one of the transactions, I got the money back, no questions asked. They did their own internal investigation, kind of gave the money back within a very short span of time. Underlying that is a structure from the company's point of view that delivers a consistent product,
right,
that delivers a consistent service, a predictable service, and that allows the consumer a level of confidence which is impossible if you don't have that consistency. So let's say if we talk about buying clothing even, books are easy to do. You compare
Right.
books across sites, you know what you're going to get at the end of it, unless you're getting a pirated edition from some heavily discounted site. Apart from that, but let's look at fashion, let's look at clothing, footwear, let's even look at jewelry, for instance, or accessories. There is always that element of unpredictability. Will this fit? Will this be the right product for me, etc.?
Will the quality be?
Will the quality be as it seems to be looking at on the
Exactly.
screen, and so on? And I think in the more developed markets, it's not just e-commerce, but retail has also delivered on that. So if you take the UK example, for instance, Marks and Spencer has had a no-question return policy for decades,
Yes.
right? So you buy a product, you go back, you exchange it, you get your money back, and that's it. That requires a level of confidence on the company's part as well, that they would be able to deliver on that promise. And even if, let's say, even if you were to allow for some crooked customers, by and large, you would say that it's a very small fraction anyway. So if you can ensure that your product is going to be consistent, your service is going to be consistent, the number of consumers coming back to you for those kind of, let's say, friction points would be very, very few. In India's case, unfortunately, that is still, there's a huge gap. If you even take physical retail, if you take, Harbinder mentioned the example of shirts. If you take work shirts, if you take size 42, and you take, if you take 10 brands, it is not standardized.
Exactly.
Right? So you have to figure out which brand fits you. You may, fit into one particular brand over the other, and then you stick with that brand. So it's not really in the hands of a retailer, multi-brand retailer, to enable the consistency because they're not really developing the product. Having said that, I think there is today, even in the e-commerce space, I think retailers, e-tailers are thinking about what segment they want to target, and some of them are going down the path of actually developing private label. So they're developing their consumer profile. In some cases, that consumer profile happens to be concentrated in the metros, not in the smaller towns. In some cases, it is a consumer profile which is distributed across the country. And they are promoting, let's say, a certain set of expected results, let's say, out of in terms of styling, in terms of quality, in terms of product, in terms of pricing, etc. So all of that becomes easier for the customer then to make a decision on saying, if I go to Zovi.com, I get a certain kind of product, and I have shopped once, I found the experience satisfactory, I like the product, I like the pricing, I'll go back again and again and again. So I think that's something which will also emerge, and I think we will see the e-commerce space as well maturing. Let's also not forget that while the fashion space and the modern retail in fashion has been around for about 30, 40 years, the maturity in that industry has only started emerging in the last 10, 15 years. And the same is also reflecting in e-commerce. E-commerce is just another channel. It's a dramatically different channel, but it's another channel. It is still at the moment plugged into the same backend. The same set of brands which are available in physical retail stores are available online. If you have inconsistencies in the industry, that's going to reflect online as well. So I think we're evolving, and I think that maturity will come in the next few years.
Hold that thought. Actually, I want to bring in Mr. Ganesh Subramanian, who heads the marketing team at Myntra.com, and he's also joining us on Skype. Thank you so much for joining at the conversation at IndiaPostLive.com. Sir, would you like to bring in your thoughts and experiences very, very quickly on what has it been in terms of reaching out to the smaller towns? Any hurdles that you constantly face and that you're trying to fix, at your company in terms of online shopping?
Hey, first of all, thanks for the opportunity to join this live recording. Hey, I just want to bring perspective of fashion, right? And Myntra.com is, dedicated to selling only fashion. See, what we see right now is over last 2 years, our proportion of business coming from tier 2 and tier 3 towns has moved from 20% now to as high as 55%. More than half of our business is coming from tier 2, tier 3 towns.
Right. Could you name a few for us, which have been, consistently actively involved in looking at e-commerce and online websites to shop?
Yeah, we have a number of them. For example, you take for example Tamil Nadu. You can take towns like Tirunelveli. For example, you take a city like Andhra Pradesh, Guntur, for example.
Right.
And you take Raipur and northeast towns, Aizawl. There are lots of towns that we have in that order. And what we see clearly is e-commerce clearly brings reach, right? And we bring the national best brands, the regional brands and international brands democratically to each and everyone in the country.
Right.
Now imagine most of the best brands in the country don't even penetrate beyond 40 towns.
Okay.
Now, therefore, e-commerce, we have an opportunity to bring all of these brands, not in just the form of bringing brands. And imagine a national brand today going to a tier 2 town and they are present in 2 running feet or 4 running feet, at the best 8 running feet. Nobody gets to see a national brand in the same breadth as they see in, let's say, a Linking Road in Bombay or a 100 feet road in Bangalore.
Right.
What we bring is the brand's full range in its full glory as a flagship store to everybody in the country.
Sir, I wanted to ask you specifically, sorry to interrupt you, but on your thought that I wanted to ask you, what are the top 3 products, if you could name, if some shopper from Guntur or Aizawl in Northeast really wants, what are these repeat orders of top 3 products, just at the, at the back of your mind, if you could just rattle out 3 products which seem to be a big hit with online shoppers in small towns.
See, for example, canvas shoes. It's a hit across many towns. Fashion t-shirts is a hit across many towns. And dresses for women and kurtas for women are hit across many towns.
Right. And any kind of niggling problems that you're facing in terms of logistics or reach, getting the right courier companies to get that doorstep delivery and make it a very smooth process for these online shoppers who are, who eagerly wait for that product to reach them. It could be their favorite t-shirt, like you say, or a pair of shoes that they've only seen online or in high-end fashion stores and malls in bigger cities that they are able to actually get to themselves in Guntur, for example.
See, let me start by giving a quick recap of how the online has progressed, and we have seen logistics as the biggest challenge when we started. We also realized along the way that this is not a product business, this is an experience business.
Right.
It is like this, if you are going on an outer ring road in any city, and for that 1 second when your mobile call dropped, and what do we tell about that service provider? If you really look at the statistics, 99.99% the call was on, right? That 1 second on an important call, that the call dropped, and we really say that the service is pathetic. Now, I think online business is like that, therefore, hence one of the reasons we looked at that all third-party logistics providers, for them, the parcel is one among the many parcels they deliver to the customer.
Right.
Hence, we realized that it is very important for us to establish our own logistics. So we started this initiative 2 years back, and as we talk right now, 2/3 of our business is serviced by Myntra Logistics.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. If you have some last comments to add here.
Yeah. And I can only tell that, what we bring to all the consumers in the country is the best and the widest of selection for men, women, and shortly in kids, right? And we really, if anybody wants to think of shopping fashion, we would like them to try Myntra.com.
Great. Thank you so much for taking out time to join us at the conversation on IndiaPostLive.com. We hope to hear from you, and if you can take forward this conversation on our website as well. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. We have to wrap up the show. We've had a lot of feedback coming in. I'll just read out a few tweets also coming from Mayank in Mumbai, who says that it's smaller towns who have the aspiration and something that retailers are able to give their preferences a lot of importance. So it's the smaller towns that seem to benefit a lot. It's the big cities where we get everything we want, says Seema on our Twitter handle. You can also take forward this conversation on our Twitter handle, #IndiaPostLive. Our panelist, Mr. Devanshu, is also available to take it forward with your comments and thoughts on India's first interactive live web conversation news TV. Just one last thought I wanted to ask you, Mr. Sani, if you can just wrap up with your thought of how much time will it take for us to be able to compete with what we see in the US or in the UK in terms of online shopping?
I think some of our successful online retailers, they are as good as the international retailers. That's my belief is. In general, if you say how the industry will, I think, so in India, like many other cases, we are leapfrogging some of the learning or the evolutionary cycle. So in this case, I don't think we'll go in any different way. Hygiene factors are already set, consumer expectations are already set, and anybody who is coming into the business, they are not trying out, they are trying to now take a market share in the future, very, very large pie. So I think somebody will be foolish not to be coming up to the standards on the day one itself. And because there's no time for evolution, which will be given by the customer or by the competition. So I think we are already there, and from here on only things can improve.
Right. Just one last thing before we go and wrap up. One factor that could hold back this entire accelerated growth that we are seeing in the online shopping market, especially for these smaller towns and tier 2 cities, one particular factor that could hold us back?
I think the factor lies with the industry. So far, the e-commerce growth has been propelled on the back of discounts. Let's remember that discounts are always a race to the bottom, and nobody wins actually. No matter how deep your pockets, if you're losing money on every transaction, no investor will back you forever and ever. So I think the industry has to kind of get up, wake up, and say we need other business models, whether it is through proprietary product, whether it is through better service, and start weaning the consumer away from discounts and expecting deals all the time. Unless we do that, I think we did.
That's not something that any of the online shoppers would be happy to hear though. But thank you so much, both of you, for taking out time and joining us and making this a very, very informative session on IndiaPostLive.com. Please share your voices and comments and feedback about this show, about online shopping, especially in India's smaller towns. Are we able to grow as an industry and mature and evolve and get that particular handbag or shoe that you want? Online shopping communities are abuzz and are on a high. How long will it last? We'll have to wait and watch. Thank you so much for joining us on India Post Live. We hope to hear more from you. Goodbye.